time to waste! We cannot tarry! Huzzah! Hello and welcome to another episode of Done Better, the movie review show where I, your host, a grown man incapable of growing facial hair, give a second pass on Hollywood scripts that probably needed about 4. Prepare to lace up your bodkins and your jerkins because we're going to give Warcraft the business. Warcraft, yes, that insanely expansive and popular massive online multiplayer game. Brought to you by Duncan Jones, the promising filmmaker behind Moon. What happened, Dunk? Moon was so good. As I'm sure we are all aware now, in the present, despite its enormous success overseas, us domestics didn't take to this epic introduction to orcs and humans and swords and Ben Foster. After watching the film 3 times, I think I can help. 3 times.
What is it?
There is no place for the fell in Azeroth.
Number 1, make a lean, mean fantasy machine. Many people said that this film was ambitious with its sheer fucking size. As the 3rd movie in Duncan's film catalog, I would call it more like foolhardy. You know how stories work, Duncan. You got a whole season of Game of Thrones in this movie, Duncan. It's a mess, Duncan. Number 2, ditch the Lich. This movie has 2 warring races made up of various factions in which multiple characters reside. That's a lot to set up and develop, and oh my god, holy shit, this movie can't also have a 3rd act dark magic demon. Orcs and humans beating each other to death is compelling enough for now. Let's downsize. Number 3, we need a hero. You ever seen one of those old movies where the main protagonist is a bit of a dick, maybe a little gruff and anti-hero-ish, but you learn to love his snarky quips and carefree attitude? Yeah? Well, that's not how this movie works. Our main hero is kind of just a dick, just a regular old dick, till he's done being one, I guess. And with so much other shit going on, we need to be able to root for this guy easily. Instead, we gotta root for a guy who comes across like a guy at a 4-way stop, who refuses to use his blinker, but also yells at you to turn your headlights on. It's 5 p.m. It's 5 p.m. Still bright outside, you fucking dick. I will find you. I will find you. So I haven't played a minute of WoW, but I know that Warcraft is about humans, elves, and dwarves joining forces to fend off an invading army of orcs, right? So here's the problem. I am told that you people who play this game, in this game you can choose who you can play as. Like, you can be a human or you can be a murderous orc, bent on destroying mankind and the like, burning down the forests and shit. And apparently, a lot of you choose to be those douchey orcs. Now, no judgment, guys, you do you, but that does put this movie in an awkward position, though. Imagine making The Lord of the Rings, but you were told by old Tolkien himself that half the people coming to see these movies were gonna be actively rooting for Shelob. Puts you in a pickle. How do you decide on the good guy? Well, this movie makes a smart choice. It gives you pretty boilerplate humans to understand, as well as a pretty sympathetic case for the horde of green monsters. They even got Toby Kibble to be the main one. Old Topes McKibbles is actually a pretty compelling actor, even when put through a Hulk filter. By the end of the movie, I was sort of enchanted by the bright, vibrant, clean fantasy realm this movie existed in. It's a nice breakaway from the visual style of Lord of the Rings, which it really needed to be to stand apart from it. But attempting to state the case for both the horde and the humans is no easy task, and certainly requires more screen time, which means you should really consider dialing back your plot. This movie has way too much plot. This story goes full fetch quest. It had our heroes going everywhere, to the extent it felt like a guided tour of Azeroth. Just checking off locations in the WoW Wikipedia. We meet our human protagonist getting a gun from the dwarves, then he goes to a city to look at some corpses, where he meets a bumbling mage who says they need to see the king, who sends them to talk to another mage, all within the first, 20 minutes. It's exhausting, all right? I'm gonna say, here and now, and you can quote me, one of the all-time heralds of a shitty film is jet setting. If your story requires you to visit more than like 3 places in the first 20 minutes, odds are you're gonna have a bad time. It means you're spending the introduction of your movie not with your characters, but with a needlessly convoluted plot. The only reason the ranger's stepbrother, the bumbling mage, the noble king, and the mysterious warlock really made sense was because they were archetypes in the fantasy genre at large. And that's no way to win an audience over with stock characters. So, less chasing around Azeroth, more time with sympathetic orcs and humans coming to blows with each other. Pocahontas did it, so can we. But how? How, I hear you asking? How do we clear out screen time for a more character-driven video game movie adaptation? Well, I'm glad you asked.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Number 2, ditch the lich. The evil demonic forces that secretly pull the strings behind this conflict also sap the life out of this film. See what I did there? The amount of time, exposition, and set pieces required to bring this plot around robbed the movie of much more compelling fodder, like the characters and slamming of said characters together. Now, I'm not saying lose the evil green magic that the cool Saruman orc is using. Him sucking the life force out of people was some of the most unsettling stuff in the movie. I think instead you just don't explain it. He's an evil orc. He has green life-sucking magics that he uses to open portals and Capri Sun people. Our hero orc detests resorting to this dishonorable way of doing things. Nothing really has to change. On the flip side, our wise mage, our bumbling mage, and the rest of the humans use their good magics and good blades to stop the invasion. The focus of the film isn't about the mysterious nature of the dark magic the orcs are using, it's about the ruthless orc leader being questioned by a group and his horde that have different ideas on how to establish themselves in this new world. The film doesn't waste time with ancient evil beings or forbidden books. It instead invests in the ranger and his son, to the extent that when he dies, we actually feel the loss he does. Simplifying your story to give this orc versus human conflict your full attention benefits each character and sets the stage for more complicated ideas and plot lines later. No Glenn Close cubes in this first one, just keep it simple. Humans over here, orcs over there, and then you smash them together.
The son of Jerkin and Draka, an unbroken line of chieftains.
Number 3, we need a hero. This movie works great on the orc side, so you're halfway there. Newly minted orc dad is concerned with the way orcs are establishing themselves in this new realm, and has some serious concerns about the evil warlock running the horde. Got it, perfect. He's willing to compromise with the humans, he sacrifices himself for the truth to make a better world for his family. I love it. The humans don't fare so well, for one simple reason. Our main human hero in this movie was a little too, fucking mean? I don't want to pick on the actor, he was written that way, but yeah, I could not get past what a total chode he was. Now, before you throw down in the comments, yes, his arc was supposed to go from cynical bad boy to dutiful king, but again, with so many other things to do over the course of this movie, he just didn't have the screen time to run his character curve. Let's go through this character's to-do list. Bad boy bro-in-law to the king, brother to the queen, lifelong friend of him, dad of him, foil to him, buddy cop to him, love interest for her, oops, actually super mad at her, mortal enemy of him, and eventually ruler of all of these people. Now, obviously every character in a movie has a similar laundry list of things they are to other characters, but when you take into account that each of these relationships has its own smaller arc inside of it, you realize how overcrowded this movie truly is. That he spends the first half of the movie being an unlikable douche is just unnecessary roughness. And while we're at it, are we even sure he's the right character you want to focus on? You know who seems a little more interesting? This secluded, super powerful, battery-operated realm protector wizard man. Ben Foster, yes. This guy is saddled with the cosmic responsibility of defending the realm, and here comes this vicious new race pouring through a magic portal. Magic he may or may not recognize? He's like the Tony Stark of this thing. And since you're not busting your chops trying to cram that necromancer stuff in here, you can have him become acquainted with that green magic throughout the adventure. You see what that's doing? Fans of the game who know this stuff will know where that magic will lead him, planting the seeds for its devastating effects later, effectively making the hero of this movie the tragic villain in the next. Tragedy.
From light comes darkness, and from darkness, light. Well, that's clear.
So that's it, folks. Just 3 little ideas to make that craft of war a little more powerful. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Who gives a shit? We're getting another one anyway. So, hey, you know what? Be sure to like, subscribe, and do all that internet bullshit right now. I want that sweet ad revenue, and you chodes better be pulling your weight here soon because I want that green, and not that green sludge that Orc was slanging. But of course, we gotta do our bits and pieces before I go, and thanks for enjoying another episode of Done Better. This movie would have been way better if it had bought all the DLC.
Corona, ride with me.
They obviously missed out on the greatest audience nod of all time.
Ready, guys? Let's do this. Save it. Oh, geez, stick it clean. Let's go.
So I actually spent a lot of time getting my OC into this movie, and I'm glad they went the extra mile and kept Muttfucker LaBouffe in those scenes.
I used the last of my energies to summon you here.
These light installations do not provide an original experience.
The Guardian has betrayed us. If he is not stopped, this world will burn.
Right.
No one can stand against the darkness alone.
I said to myself that you must be out of your mind. You know you're wasting your time.
I'm sure you guys are probably aware of like setups and payoffs in movies, and there's sometimes like super obvious setups. I really love the setup of the rock golem in this film. Like there's no way you're gonna cut to a scene like that, see a man crafting a rock golem and not think, wonder if that's gonna show up in the movie later. It's kind of like Alfred Hitchcock actually said, you leave a rock golem on the table in the first act and he'll come back to bite you in the ass in the third. I would have loved if they'd done nothing with that. Like he's just some sort of weird rock golem artist and that's the end of it. You just see it in the background of the final action scene the entire time, just sitting there. Maybe a little plaque saying like Ben Foster, rock golem, $895.